is the slideshow by Madyson Pichel, Anne Frank's experiences, compare and contrast. This is the diary of Anne Frank. The main characters of this play are Anne Frank, Otto Frank, Edith Frank, Mr. Crawler, and Meb Geese. Anne Frank was a Jew born in Germany, and she later moved to the Netherlands when the Nazis came into power with her family. One of the conflicts in this play is that the Jews no longer had freedom like they used to. This conflict is person to person. The Jews had to wear yellow stars, they couldn't go to Dutch schools, they couldn't go to the movies, or they couldn't ride in automobiles. Another conflict is person to self. Anne states that she feels like two different people. She believes that this feeling of hers questions her dream of becoming a writer. The theme of this drama is the sacrifice and values of loyalty to others. This slide is about the novel Mouse. The main characters of this story are Mala, Vladik, Anna, and Artie. Mala was Vladik's wife, and she also seems very money hungry. She also went through the Holocaust and survived. Vladik is Artie's mother. He is very strong-minded and wants to protect his family. Anna is Artie's mother. She was known to be highly intelligent and sensitive. Artie is a writer, and he wants to know about his father's story on the Holocaust. The theme of Mouse is about the survival through times of hate and tragedy, and how it reflects on how people act after it. One of the main conflicts is person to person. It is about how Jews have betrayed each other by turning each other into the German police. Also, Jews are constantly tortured by Germans. Another major conflict is person and nation. This is a slide for the speech after Auschwitz. The main characters are Elie Wiesel and the group of children of Auschwitz. Elie Wiesel is the narrator of the speech. He is also a Holocaust survivor. The children in the camps have not known anything other than survival and torture. These kids were born into these camps and experienced many traumatic events. The theme of this speech is about how we have to reflect on past events to make our future better and without any violence. One major conflict is person to person. The Germans did cruel things to the Jews, and Elie states that he speaks as a Jew who has seen what humanity has done to itself by trying to exterminate an entire people and inflict suffering and humiliation and death on so many others. The horrific actions that Germans partook in has affected others, like the Jews. Another conflict is person to self. Elie wants himself to understand about who could do such thing. He asks what kind of demented soul would have invented this system, the system of killing the Jews. This next slide is about the poem There Before the Grace. The main character of this poem is Wisława Szymborska. She is the narrator of the poem. Wisława was a Pole who survived World War II and the Holocaust. The theme of the poem is about how luck played a massive role on her survival of the Holocaust and the war. One major conflict is person to person. Wisława states that the danger of the war happened sooner than later. After, she states it happened not to you. She wants us to feel like anything could happen, whether dangerous or not, at any time without even realizing it. She is telling us that we did not go through the experience that she went through, so we have to be grateful for what we have because she went through such tragic events. Another major conflict is person to self. Wisława was surprised that she managed to escape the event of the Holocaust and the setting. She is talking to herself when she states, "So you're here," straight from a moment still ajar. She also feels sympathy for those who have lost their lives. Wisława states, "Listen, how fast your heart beats in me." Comparing Anne Frank and Mouse. Anne Frank's family and Vladik's family both had to go into hideout to prevent getting sent to concentration camps. Anne Frank hid in an annex behind a bookshelf, while Vladik lived in an attic for some time. In both novels, no one lived a good life and was constantly lived in harsh environments. Anne Frank lived in a cramped place with almost no space. Vladik lived sometime in an alleyway under some coal. Anne Frank and Artie both have a tough relationship with their parents. Anne Frank has some misunderstandings with their mother and have some lack of communication. Artie has a tense relationship with his father. They get into small arguments very frequently in the novel. Anne Frank was never able to go outside of the annex, while Vladik had traveled place to place to hide. Anne Frank had little to no experience into helping her family, quite because she was a child. However, Vladik was prone to helping Anna with food and valuables to survive. He also helped his family members and those around him, like his friends. Vladik was drafted into war where he became a prisoner of war. Anne Frank did not have to go into war. Comparing Anne Frank and after Auschwitz. Both Anne Frank and Eli Wiesel reminded people of the Holocaust from a first-person perspective. They both wrote about their experiences. Both writings Anne and Eli made will make people feel sorrow and sympathy for those who have read about what they had went through. Both texts have affected how the world sees things, like the trauma from the Holocaust. Anne Frank was able to hide in an annex for some time, while Eli Wiesel was in concentration camps for more than a year. Eli Wiesel had written things about what he heard and seen in concentration camps, but Anne Frank mainly wrote about her feelings and thoughts about her time in the annex, surrounded by her family and others. Anne written things at her own time, and Eli wrote about his past experience and what he remembers. Comparing Anne Frank and There Before the Grace. Both Anne Frank and Wisława Szymborska wrote about the struggles they went through and how they had to survive. They were both writing about their experiences and how they could have had many possible ways where they had been taken to a camp or even worse, dying. They both explained some ways where luck played out in their times of survival. Anne Frank had hoped to stay alive during the Holocaust, while Wisława had none and just was determined to stay alive. Anne Frank remained hiding in the annex, while Wisława had been trying to escape the chance of getting into concentration camps, which was successful. Anne Frank talks about her experiences, however, she later passed away due to some sort of betrayal. Wisława talks about her experience and how she survived the Holocaust.